Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. Texting behind the wheel, eating and even putting on makeup. The unmarked lorries catching unsuspecting drivers on motorways, including the M3.
We had another driver who had a McDonald's drink in one hand, a mobile phone on the other, and no hands on the steering wheel.
A rise in children being homeschooled. But is it just parental choice, or are schools not meeting the needs of young people?
Also tonight, extra beds and new diagnostic and breast cancer units. Frimley Park's plan to reduce hospital waiting lists.
And the heathland that's home to some of Europe's most threatened species. A call for volunteers to protect the Ashdown forest. Good evening. Footage has been released of motorway drivers caught sending text messages, eating food and even applying makeup, all at the wheel, to highlight the dangers of being distracted. Well, Surrey police filmed the footage on the M3 and the M25 as part of Operation Tramline, which uses unmarked lorry cabs to catch unsuspecting drivers. In the 10 years that the scheme has been running, more than 50,000 incidents have been recorded. As Rachel Hepworth reports.
Okay, got a chap here, he's texting, both hands, he's got no seatbelt on.
He's got his hands, both of them, into a pouch of tobacco, and he's just starting to roll a cigarette whilst driving.
Just some examples of distraction driving which have caught the eye of officers from Operation Tramline. It launched exactly 10 years ago in Surrey, when officers took cameras out in an unmarked HGV, their elevated position allowing them to see into offenders' vehicles.
Yeah, we've got it all. If you want to light them up, and we'll see their reaction.
Since then, the scheme's been rolled out across the country. These were officers on patrol in Dorset last year. Nationwide, more than 51,000 incidents have been recorded. Most common is not wearing a seatbelt, followed by using a mobile phone. But other offences stand out.
Car near side, lady's putting her makeup on while she's trying to drive.
We had a driver who had a jar of gherkins between their legs and they were eating them as they were travelling. And we had another driver who had a McDonald's drink in one hand, a mobile phone on the other, and no hands on the steering wheel.
The results, of course, can be catastrophic. A lorry driver on his phone caused this pile-up in Southampton, killing 2 men, while a mother and 2 children died on the A34 when they were hit by a truck. The judge said the driver was so distracted by his phone, he might as well have had his eyes shut.
The circumstances up in front of you can change in a split second, and if you're not concentrating, then you're going to miss something that may affect yourself and other people for the rest of their lives.
A van driver just having his breakfast while driving at 75 miles an hour.
Surrey police say they have seen a tail-off in mobile phone use in the last decade, but they'll continue to push the message there's no excuse for distraction driving.
Put your phone into the glove box, put your seatbelt on, and don't drive distracted.
And he's pulling away with both hands off the steering wheel.
Rachel Hepworth, ITV News.
Detectives are appealing for witnesses again after a collision left a pedestrian in hospital with serious injuries. It involved a man in his 60s and a Ford Fiesta and happened in Holbury near Southampton at about 10 p.m. on Saturday the 29th of March. Hampshire police think potential witnesses left the scene before police arrived. Another car may have been there too. Police are keen to see any dash cam footage.
The minister responsible for devolution was in Sussex today, one of 6 areas along with Hampshire that could see an elected mayor make decisions on key issues, including housing, transport and infrastructure.
In other parts of the south, there's been frustration because they've not been included in the plans, which the government say will deliver opportunities and growth. James Dunham has more.
Jim McMahon was in Crawley officially opening a £14 million innovation centre, a refurbished building designed to attract companies. The local MP and council leader were delighted to see the devolution minister in town. After all, his government wants to give more powers to politicians in Sussex, so too in Hampshire. Other areas like Dorset and Wiltshire aren't in line yet.
So the work that local leaders have shown in those areas has put them in a very good position to get reorganisation through, to have those sustainable, future-proof councils in place, and then to use that as a foundation for devolution a bit later on.
So are you saying to people in those areas which haven't been selected that you're not worthy of this investment right now?
Not at all. We believe that all of England is worthy of investment, and that's why...
But they've not been selected for this.
And that's why the English Devolution White Paper sets out an ambition to complete coverage of mayoral strategic authorities across the whole of England, supported by empowered local government. And we wanted to make sure that those that were most advanced, those that were ready to go ahead, were able to do that.
Within the next 3 years, an elected mayor in Sussex could make decisions on transport, whether there should be more environmentally friendly buses. They'll also manage regeneration projects like this one. While much of the office space at the Innovation Centre is currently empty, its potential to house up to 40 businesses is an example of investment which the government says will only increase under devolution, with more funding promised to drive economic growth. For the energy firm showing off its solar technology to the minister, the idea of taking power away from Westminster is welcomed.
We have aspirations to do more locally as well that impact positively public sector buildings here in the UK. So taking decision making more remotely, I think, can be should be a positive thing.
Do you think devolution would make a difference? On the buses, some scepticism.
I don't think so, because we have really positive relationships with our local councils, West Sussex, Surrey, Brighton and Hove. Because we have positive relationships, it's difficult to see at the short term what the benefits of devolution will bring.
In Salisbury, the Conservative leader, on a visit to an air and naval defence production firm, said devolution should not be driven from Downing Street.
I worry about top-down devolution, where it is Westminster or Whitehall that's deciding what's happening to local people. Devolution should start bottom-up, where people take the power themselves, rather than artificial structures being created.
A public consultation on devolution ends Sunday. If the government's dramatic changes to local democracy go through, it could be a mayor instead of a minister appearing at future photo shoots. James Dunham, ITV News, Crawley.
So yes, there is still time for people to have their say on devolution plans. The deadline to give feedback on the idea of having a mayoral combined authority is this Sunday. To take part, you can visit the websites at gov.uk/Hampshire and the Solent Devolution, or gov.uk/Sussex and Brighton Devolution.
Children are being encouraged to take to the great outdoors at Wakehurst in Sussex this Easter. The Twits Trail will celebrate Roald Dahl's famous story in the springtime landscape. Families can make the most of the gardens, which are already bursting with colour. Staff hope it will ignite a passion for nature.
Beautiful. Well, you are watching ITV News Meridian in the south. Coming up,
the thousands of pounds worth of unclaimed cash that could be sitting in your child's bank account.
And there's been a bit more cloud around today, but April so far, 45% of the April average, and we're only a quarter way through the month. What is next in store, I'll tell you in just a bit.
and you can find more on today's stories at itv.com/Meridian. You can also call 0808 1010 095 and follow us on social media.
Now, the number of children being homeschooled has risen sharply. There's just under an estimated 7,000 young people who are now being taught outside the school system.
Yes, many parents see it as a positive choice that benefits their child. But one think tank says it's a sign that schools are not meeting the needs of many. Kevin Ashford reports.
Go on then, tell me what you do.
Noah Chisty is being homeschooled. The 13-year-old is getting his education via a school that's online.
I have tutors, I can email them, they respond really quickly, and I do like that it's just me and I get on with it, no distractions. I really like the free aspect of it, where you're kind of very independent and you choose your schedule and you can choose what you want to do.
Noah was first homeschooled when he was at primary school, as it meant the family could be with his dad, who was travelling the country for work. This time is because Noah wasn't happy with his experience of secondary school.
Do you worry that you misses out sort of mixing with other kids at all?
Yeah, everybody asks this.
He does go to Scouts every week. He does a drama class every week. What else? He goes to chess club. He goes to a maths tutor. So he is getting lots of social experiences with children his age.
Data collection about the number of youngsters being homeschooled has only happened in recent years, but the signs are it's a growing trend. Here in our region, the number of children recorded as being taught at home has risen in the last 3 years from more than 20,000 to more than 25,000. A think tank which aims to improve the lives of young people says for some, homeschooling can be a positive move, but for many it's a reflection that the education system is failing youngsters.
There's an awful lot of children now are coming out of the school rolls to be educated at home because their children are having a bad time in school, they aren't getting the support they need, and parents are desperately worried about their well-being. But over 50% of children who come off the school roll for home education are given the reason that they aren't having their needs met. It might be special educational needs or mental health needs.
Legislation setting up a national register of homeschooled children is set to be introduced, which local authorities say will help them understand why more youngsters are being educated away from schools.
For us, the Children and Wellbeing Bill will now give us an opportunity to really hone in on them kind of patterns of behaviour and actually look at and give us a power and influence to go and engage with parents and engage with schools to try to find out why they're being homeschooled, but actually the not in school register will be a really useful tool in that regard, because at the moment we don't know who's not in school.
Noah will be returning to the classroom in the future. He says he wants to do his GCSEs back in school. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Now the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. With the details for us tonight is Lucrezia Millarini.
Coming up on tonight's Evening News, 2 children found guilty of killing a pensioner in a vicious assault in a park. Bim Coley died the day after the attack. As the King and Queen continue their visit to Italy, here Prince Harry is at court in a bid to reinstate his UK security. And Meghan reveals details of her postnatal health battle in her latest podcast. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
There's a warning over the use of home testing kits to indicate whether someone may have prostate cancer. A leading charity says by using them, individuals may not get the full picture.
PSA tests turn positive if a high level of a protein produced by the prostate is detected in a drop of blood. Well, many have emerged online or in pharmacies, but without the supervision of a medical professional, there are concerns over their accuracy. With the full details, Nick Smith.
1 in 8 men are likely to develop prostate cancer, and in the absence of a national screening programme, men are advised to get a GP appointment. Dan McGrill is a consultant urological surgeon in Chichester and says a blood test will be carried out to detect abnormally high levels of the protein PSA, which can indicate prostate cancer.
It's a really useful diagnostic tool to help guide further investigations. It can be raised because of an enlarged prostate, because of inflammation, or because a man gets older and the PSA goes up over time. But if it is raised above the age-specific range, that's a good indication that the patient needs more investigations to be done.
In recent years, home tests have become a popular alternative to the GP PSA test, where a pinprick can offer rapid results. But Prostate Cancer UK claims the numbers indicating a positive result ending up in an eventual diagnosis can be as low as 30%. So are advising people to avoid them.
The cut-off level for these home tests is that a bit higher than the NHS, so they might be falsely reassured by what seems like a negative result. And the flip side of that is if they get a positive result, they'll have to go to their GP anyway, who will almost certainly redo a proper PSA blood test.
George Thomas's company supplies PSA home testing kits with laboratory analysis, but is also branching out into something more precise.
The PSA test is
a good way of determining whether the prostate is working correctly, but is not necessarily a good determinant of cancer. Clinically, it's been up for debate for many years, but it is a low-cost test, and that's why it's used at scale.
His company is working with scientists in Oxford who've developed another test dubbed PSE using genomic profiling. It's already in use in private healthcare, and they say it could be used in a national screening programme due to its high accuracy rate.
Our accuracy is at 94%, and the main reason behind this boost is that we cut the false positives. A problem that many men are going through right now and the healthcare system is that many healthy men are unnecessarily referred for MRIs and biopsies, which we can help with the PSE test.
This new type of test costs £900 per sample, compared to as low as £20 for a home testing kit. But the NHS has told us it's actively reviewing the evidence from use of this PSE test and whether it has the potential to provide life-saving interventions without the risk and trauma of more invasive procedures. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Now, thousands of pounds that should be in the bank accounts of young people is currently sitting unclaimed.
The money is from child trust funds set up in children's names when they were born between September 2002 and January 2011. On average, their value can grow to around £2,000 each.
Now it's hoped the government will do more to get the cash into the hands of those it belongs to, as James Webster explains.
When Tayo saw people talking on social media about child trust funds, it made him wonder if one was sitting waiting for him. They were set up for children born between 2002 and 2011. After some investigating, he had a very pleasant surprise.
It was more than £2,500, which I think was crazy. So it was quite a lot of money because, you know, it was the government that set up this scheme, and then your parents have put money away to just leave it there. It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Especially for someone who wants to try their best to, like, you know, better themselves, save a bit, you know, maybe invest.
In total, almost £1 billion has been paid into child trust funds. 85,000 of those are from the South East. That's £159 million sitting unclaimed in a vault. And 27% of those accounts are for young people identified as being from low-income backgrounds. The Share Foundation is hoping to help more young people claim those funds, something the head of the charity says would be easier if the government made it happen automatically.
We have made proposals to government for what we call an automatic release scheme, so that if a young person with an HMRC allocated account reaches 21 and they haven't claimed their account, then that money is automatically released by joining up the national insurance number through the benefits system, the salary system, payroll, or through student loans, and getting the money out there. And we hope that the government will do this in the future to get this money moving.
There are no plans for that. The government says it is committed to helping reunite young people with their savings by raising awareness and an online tool to find accounts. And when they are found, taking advice on how best to use such a large sum is important, according to this personal finance expert.
The money's not going anywhere, and while it might feel like it's burning a hole in your pocket, it really isn't. What you can do is you can go and look to switch it into just even a cash savings account. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, whatever you're comfortable with, but just take your time.
After treating himself to a small holiday, Tayo decided the rest of his money should be invested for the future.
I'm looking to a bit more when I'm like 29, 30s, you know, decent 5-10 year range. Hopefully maybe a down payment for a house. The thing is, this is where it starts. It starts taking these small steps, increasing it by 1%, maybe saving a bit more every month, you know, and then who knows, it might grow into something beautiful.
That's why Tayo hopes more young people will do what he did and search for their trust funds so the money no longer stays locked away and unused. James Webster, ITV News.
Good advice. Sadly,
Yeah.
we don't qualify. You're going to double check, aren't you?
I am for one of mine, yes. They fall within that window. His advice is very good, but I'm worried that my son might just sort of take it down to the pub.
Or
But
take
anyway.
the holiday.
Yes, we'll take the holiday. Now let's move on, because a brand new unit at Frimley Park Hospital has opened to patients. The £49 million development has 74 new beds and houses respiratory and general medicine wards.
Staff say it will alleviate the pressure on the hospital, cut waiting lists and see patients treated faster. There are plans to build a new hospital for the area because 2/3 of the current site is made of rack concrete, which needs replacing.
But for now, the new building is a big step forward, as Juliet Fletcher reports.
The doors opened to patients this morning. Nicola Van Zale is on the road to recovery and says she feels privileged to be admitted to the new unit here.
I'm the first patient in this lovely new ward, so it's very exciting. It's really light, the colours are vibrant. I think especially on this second phase of me starting hopefully to go home, I think it's a nice environment, especially for family to come in as well.
The 3-storey building has 74 beds with lots of side rooms. It houses respiratory and general medicine wards and has been a boost to staff morale.
It's a real motivator for the staff as well to make sure that we're still able to provide the best care for our patients. It's a real change from the environment where we've previously been working in. The teams have all been split up across 5 different areas. So having them all in one space, being able to work together as a team again for the first time in about 5 years is really lovely.
Frimley Park Hospital will eventually be replaced. The government has pledged £2 billion and it's hoped building will start by 2030. The current site isn't big enough and a large proportion was built with unstable concrete.
The hospital has been very short of beds, so it's not right-sized, as we know. We also are a hospital that has a considerable amount of its estate that has rack. And we are having to do a continuous programme of remedial works to ensure the safety of that. So this enables us to decant wards to do that, but the primary focus was to enable us to work on the elective recovery programme and make sure that we can try to reduce our waiting list for patients for surgery.
There's also a diagnostic centre on the ground floor with state-of-the-art scanners and a breast care unit, both due to open soon. It's hoped these new facilities will be an ongoing asset in the future, even when the new hospital is up and running in the years to come. Juliet Fletcher, ITV News, Frimley.
Now, everyone who has ever visited the Ashdown Forest in Sussex will know what a special place it is. And there are plans to make it even more special with a wild space project to open it up to more visitors and protect its rare plants and wildlife at the same time.
But to do that, they need volunteers. And like the flora and fauna of the forest, they're pretty rare. Tony Green went to try and find some.
It takes people power to protect the Ashdown Forest, but volunteer numbers are at the lowest they've ever been, putting conservation projects at risk. In the pandemic, the forest was a popular destination, but although there were more visitors, there were fewer volunteers.
During COVID times, when people used to get their hour of fresh air a day, they came up to the forest. It's never been so popular. It's dropped off a little bit since, but what we do want to do is actually have people here who come to the landscape, get inspired by the landscape, understand that Ashdown Forest is a really precious, jewel in the crown place to come to see. We're going to have a new reinvigorated visitor centre, and then you can use this as a stepping platform into the wider landscape and enjoy it.
What's at risk? What will happen if you don't attract enough volunteers?
Well, we just simply won't be able to do what we set out to achieve. And volunteers will turn up, they'll help manage it, they'll visibly see the difference, they'll see the heather, the gorse.
Beth Morgan is one such volunteer. For the past 3 years, she's been putting the forest on social media.
I've got to understand so much about the forest from the questions that we receive on social media, that I then work with the forest team to help explain back to the public, to visitors to the forest, how the forest is managed, what wildlife there is here, what you can come and visit. So it's been, it's really useful to be able to share that with a really wide audience. But personally, I've got a lot out of it as well. I've learned so much about the forest.
It's so nice to see this because this is the first time.
Emma Thorpe is a volunteer warden.
It's not committing to a day a week or committing to a certain amount of hours, which works really well for me. I'm self-employed, so I'm able to kind of get really involved in the things that I can be useful and helpful for, and not so involved when I don't have the time. And the benefit I get from it is enormous. So I've always loved nature, I've always loved the outdoors, but what I'm learning about ecology as part of my volunteering role is huge.
All volunteers play a vital role in the forest. It's Niamh Marnie's job to find more.
We're a really small office team here, so we do rely quite heavily on our volunteers, and we do believe it's a really good chance for people who are local and love the Ashdown forest for the beautiful place that it is to get involved and to give back. But also there are so many health benefits of being a volunteer and being out in nature.
On days like today?
On days like today, definitely.
New recruits for the volunteer army can get in touch by post or online and help celebrate and share one of the most treasured landscapes in the southeast. Tony Green, ITV News, the Ashdown Forest.
Beautiful, not a bad place to do some volunteering, is it?
Yeah, really nice. And it looked lovely when we filmed that as well.
It did, didn't it?
It's been nice for the last few days. Is that going to stay the case? Let's get a check on the weather forecast with the details for us tonight. Here's James.
A heavy downpour will subside and light relaxation will set in. TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hi there, good evening. It's been a little bit cloudier today. We've seen some high cloud drifting down across Wales and then into our patch. High pressure, though, still keeping things nice and settled. In fact, it's sort of regenerated a little bit, and that's why we're going to get more sunshine over the coming days. That said, we might pull in bits of cloud from time to time, and then as we head through the rest of the week, the high pressure slowly contracts, and we might eventually have a bit of a pincer movement of showers as we head to the back end of the weekend. But as far as this evening and overnight goes, the cloud from today drifting away, plenty of clear spells and clear skies once again. Not much of a breeze, so we might pick up one or two mist patches here and there. Towards the end of the night, just time to see some of this cloud trying to sneak into parts of the patch, but not everywhere. And the clearing skies and the light breeze allowing us to once again get a bit of a chill. I think we'll see some places down below freezing. So tomorrow we're going to see this cloud trying to encroach in, but then as the sun rises it starts to burn it back, so a bit of a battle in some parts of the patch. Still got a bit of a nagging northeasterly. It'll take the edge off the feel of the temperatures, but on the whole not looking too bad temperature wise, with a high of around 15 to 16 Celsius. One or two spots might squeak a 17. As far as Thursday goes, the high starts to just push down a little bit further south. Again, we might see one of those fairly grey starts before the sunshine starts to break through. 17 to 19 Celsius across the south, and we might get a little bit warmer after a few mist patches burn back on Friday. Similar picture on Saturday.
TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that is it from us for the time being. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Lucrezia Millarini, and I am back with your late update just a shade after 10:30.
For now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you for watching. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.